Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our first series on Snacktime Snippets. We're providing little bites of information on Microsoft Dynamics 365 and the Extivia app for government contractors. I'm Paul Skirpsky, and joining me today is my good friend, Mark Lahart.
Hi, Paul.
Welcome, Mark.
Thank you.
How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you.
Fantastic. All right, so on today's episode, we're going to cover is just some general information about the Dynamics 365 interface and some of the core capabilities that Microsoft and Extivia are delivering to government contractors today. I'm logged into the GovCon365 solution, and with each user profile, what we have is the ability to personalize that home page through a certain role. So in this case, I'm logged in as a project accountant at a government contractor. And what that role center provides is the ability to quickly get to information that's specific to my role. So in this case, key information about contracts, jobs, resources are our people, etc. There's also role-based security, which controls what a user can do once they log in. So do they have the ability to read, write, modify, delete, and execute permissions? Even though we've got pre-canned roles, oftentimes what we see is that certain employees within the company, they perform tasks as assigned, my favorite responsibility, the duties as assigned line on my job description. So if there's things that you need to get into that aren't part of your main interface, so when I look at my main interface, I've got information about journals and some self-service capabilities. And down below, when I expand it, you see some additional details here. So if there's aspects of the system that I get into on a regular basis, but they're not on my home page, I can just search for them. So if I search for something like location, if this is something I get into on a daily basis, I can just add that to my home page by bookmarking it. So the idea of a bookmark is just like when I'm browsing on the internet and I find a web page that's exciting and interesting to me, I can bookmark that so I can easily get back to it. So once it's bookmarked, it becomes available from my home page. The idea that Microsoft has here is make it easy for users to get to tasks that I perform on a daily basis. But if they have something that's unique about their role that's different sometimes than maybe the same person in their company, they can just add it to their home page. As I scroll down on my interface, I see my activity queues. So in my particular role, it's information like my personal timesheet, expenses that need to get processed. So if somebody has responsibility for processing expense reports, they would see how many are outstanding to be processed. Same thing with timesheet corrections. Over to the right, I've got some wizards. So if I want to create a job from an existing job or just go through a series of questions to create a job, I could use my new job wizard. Then as I scroll down, I can leverage Power BI reports, or I can create my own list of jobs. So I would pull from the master list of jobs, and I can add or delete any jobs from my home page. So if there's one I wanted to take off, I could delete it. It doesn't delete it from the system. It just deletes it from my personal list. We've got another Snacktime snippet on Power BI, but just to mention the home page, you have the ability to choose your different Power BI reports, and they're also interactive. So if I want to look at a certain client to see what that client's credit limit is or what their balance due, I can just select the customer. In this case, I'm looking at a Datum Corporation, and I see what their balance is, what the credit limit is, etc. I'll just go ahead and click off that, and it releases it. But we've got a series of Power BI dashboards and reports that are available to a user at the click of your finger. If I need to go into any of the sections of the system, I can just click on, in this case, the customer record. It's going to take me into the list of all my customers. So if you remember earlier, we were looking at a Datum Corporation. That same information I'm looking at from the home page of that Power BI report is available from the list. So in this case, I can see the credit limit of $855. The balance due of $102,000, and I can drill into that number to see the overall open AR. So when I drill into it, you can see all the outstanding AR entries, And because they're all overdue based on that date, I'm seeing those highlighted in red. So it makes it easy for a user to not only drill down to see the detail, but it visually changes the representation so it draws my eye to it. It's red because it's overdue and I need to make some kind of change. In addition, any of these views, if you wanted to set filters on it, you can just go ahead and click the filter box, or on the right-hand side, top right, I can click my filter pane, and now it gives me the ability to set all sorts of different filters. So I can filter by any of the fields on the right-hand side. In this case, I want to filter by balance due. So I'm going to look for all clients that have a balance due greater than $10,000. And now on the right-hand side, you can see that I've got that subset of the list. Once I create a filtered list, I have the option to save it. And we'll just say that this is balance due greater than 10K. And now next time I log in, if I need to get to that list of customers where the balance due is greater than 10,000, I would just select from my master view. If I want to go back to all customers, I can either remove that view or just click all. And now it's going to show me the full list of customers. All these capabilities are available across the entire application. So I'm showing it from the customer card, but the same concepts are available from any section, like maybe the vendor card or the job card, etc.
So, Paul, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, absolutely, Mark.
So how would this integrate with, say, the Office products?
All right, excellent question. So there's a couple integration points with Office. So let me show you a couple to give you an idea of how this solution is integrating with, the Office suite. So the first area that I'll talk about is how it integrates with Excel. So anytime you're in a list or a ledger, you have the ability to open that or edit in Excel. So once I hit edit in Excel, what it's going to do is it's going to send that list view off to Excel, and now it's going to populate Excel with the same data that was inside of Business Central. There's an add-in to Excel for Microsoft Dynamics, so it's just loading the add-in, and it's going to verify my security. Once the security is verified, you'll see all of the information from Business Central is going to get populated inside of Excel. So we'll just give it 1 second to refresh the data. So now we've got all that information that was in Business Central in Excel. So that's great. There's a lot of systems that have the ability to send things off to Excel, but what Microsoft gives is that next level of capability. So if I wanted to edit something in Excel, I can just come into my Excel sheet. Let's say I'm going to increase everybody's credit limit by 10%. So everybody's familiar with how they can create a little formula in Excel, and I'll just say my credit limit times 10%. And let's go ahead and just drag and drop that all the way down. Once I complete that operation, I can just go ahead and hit my publish button. So what publish does is it takes whatever change I made, it validates it against the business logic, and then it's going to publish that information back into Business Central. If I did anything that violated the data entry rules, such as this is normally just a numeric field, if I did something alphanumeric, it would let me know that that wasn't an acceptable change. So you can see that the publish was successful. If I tried to update a field that wasn't allowed to be edited, in this case that balance, remember the balance due we talked about earlier, that balance amount comes from a subledger or a drill down where we drilled into it. So it's saying it's a read-only field. I can also, if I create a subset of a list that I send off and I want to reuse it, I can always just save that list locally, and anytime I log in, I can refresh it, and it's going to give me whatever the latest is in terms of the information in Excel. So let's go back into Dynamics. I'm not going to save the list, but if I resort any of the columns or hit refresh, what you're going to see is that balance, or credit limit, I should say, is updated. So that's just one area of how this leverages Excel. So whether it's sending a list or a ledger out, or maybe you want to upload a journal entry, it's great to have that flexibility to take advantage of Excel and the things that it's strong at. Other area of integration I want to talk a little bit about is document management. So this is going to take advantage of SharePoint as well as I can leverage emails. So any customer that I'm on, so let's go down to Department of Defense as a customer, you'll see that there's no documents attached here. But if I had a document on my desktop, I can just drag and drop it and move it over into Business Central. It's going to make a copy of it, put it into SharePoint, and now I've got visibility of it here. I can do that with any kind of document. And a lot of systems have the ability to attach documents. Where this goes one step further, and this is leveraging ZetaDocs, which is one of our key partners, is if I had an email. So I got an email from our CEO, and I wanted to attach it to this record. I can actually just take that document, drag and drop it over here, and now it's going to attach that email that was sent to me. Even if the user deletes the email, I take that email out of my system locally, it's put it into Excel. So now when I launch the email that was sent, it's now available to anybody. So just think about it. There's communications you have with your customers, your vendors, your employees that end up on your personal email. If you want to associate it with the record, you can just drag and drop it in, and now that's associated with, in this case, the customer record. So those are just some general things that make it a great solution, not just for a government contractor, but any company. Let me touch on a handful of other aspects that I think really differentiate the system, because what people are looking for is not just rich and robust capabilities, they're also looking for ease of use. So I talked earlier about those user profiles and how I can easily not only personalize it to add something to my home page. In that case, I think we had that location that we added to our list, but you can also search the entire menu. So if I click my 3 horizontal lines here, it's going to take me into the profile that I'm logged into, in this case, the project accountant. Here are the aspects of the system that they get into on a daily basis. If I hit Explore All, this is going to show me all aspects of the application. So everything from manufacturing and sales order processing to purchasing and finance. If I wanted to look at one of the particular modules, in this case finance, if I hit Explore, this shows me everything within finance. So, the core general ledger, which includes the chart of accounts, payables and vendors, fixed assets, also cash management. One of the great things about cash management, and we have a Snacktime Snippet coming up on this, is how you can manage your cash flow. And it's not just cash flow looking in the rearview mirror. We can also forecast cash flow. And Microsoft's using some AI tools to help aid in that cash flow forecast capabilities. And then in addition to those kind of integrations, we've also got integrations with banks. So if you need to reconcile your bank account, there is a service that we can get a feed from the bank to give you whatever the latest is in your bank account. So for Microsoft Dynamics 365, it's not just about the capabilities in the system, it's how we can leverage Office 365 and some of the amazing integrations that go across the application. So the last thing I want to talk about today, as it relates to the ease of use and the general interface, I talked about adding things to my home page. But in addition to that, you can personalize the home page. So the personalization option would be things like this headline here. It takes up a lot of space. I don't want to see it. I can hide it. So now I'm just going to see things that are particular to what are important to me. So now those dashboards that are down below, I bring them up so that I've got more real estate on the home page. I can also move around any of these sections, but just really make it useful for me as a user to have all the critical information that I need on a daily basis. And then finally, when it comes to personalization, in addition, I have the ability to personalize. I talked about lists, but I can personalize any of the data entry forms. So earlier, I was on a customer record. Now I'm in a vendor record, and you could see that on the vendor record, same idea with document management. But when I create a new vendor, I can create a new vendor from a template, which will pre-fill some of the fields in. But I can also personalize these data entry forms. So there's different information by tab. So I've got general information, address information, government contract data like information about your vendors for your GSA reporting for small and disadvantaged businesses. But on each one of these tabs, I have the ability to show more or less data when I collapse it. But I can also personalize it if I need to add fields that maybe aren't visible. So if I click Add Fields, over to the right, it's going to show me that I've got some additional information. So maybe I want to have a second name for the customer, right? So I've got the main customer name, but I want to add the name too. I can go ahead and add that. And now it gives me the ability to have that information on my home page. I can also control the tab order. So as I tab through, if I decide that maybe name 2 is not one, it's optional, and I don't want to show it as part of the tab order, I can also make sure it's not part of the tab order. So today's Snacktime Snippet was really to show you that the Dynamics 365 interface not only has rich and robust capabilities, but also that ability to simplify it and personalize it so a user can take advantage of the features without being overwhelmed. And then finally, that security to control it and make sure that people are only in parts of the system they should be. And if you want to give them only read access, you can certainly do that. So I'm Paul Skirpsky, and for Mark Lahart, thanks for joining our first Snacktime Snippet, and hopefully you join us more on other exciting information and little bite size for Dynamics 365 for government contractors.
Thanks, Paul.